Welcome to this episode of Pearls in the Interior Life, being released on Thanksgiving. As this is, we're going to talk a bit about Thanksgiving and especially how it relates to our relationships. Our big goal is happiness in this life and heaven in the next. To achieve this, we need to stay close to God throughout each day. But how do we do that while living in the real world with all of its challenges and distractions? Growing our interior life through Christian mental prayer is the answer. This podcast mines the riches of the greatest spiritual tradition on earth so we can grow in holiness together. I'm Steve Smith. Thank you for joining me for Pearls of the Interior Life. Thank you again for tuning into this episode. Thank you for making this time for the Lord and inviting me to be a part of it. Here we are at Thanksgiving. We're going to talk a bit about Thanksgiving and especially how it is associated with the relationships in our life. But first, as a starting point, let's begin at the beginning. I'm hearing Julie Andrews in my head, a very good place to start. But why do we give thanks? We give thanks for those things that we are not able to provide for ourselves. Okay, so let's say, for example, if we were completely self-sufficient in all aspects of life, we would never have cause to give thanks to anybody else. What a dull world that would be. But thank the Lord, quite literally, that we are far from self-sufficient in any aspect of life. And let's just say, for instance, what if we had all the money in the world? And what good would that really be if we weren't able, say, to exchange a little bit of it for a ham sandwich? $100 bills on rye, not particularly satisfying. Better is if we're able to go to the deli and exchange some portion of that for that ham sandwich. And we thank the deli owner for the sandwich. He thanks us for our business, and we carry on. Obviously, this extends far beyond our material needs. Even more important are our emotional, our interior needs, our need for meaning, for purpose in life. We can't compliment ourselves. Yes, we can have positive self-talk and affirmations, and that's fine, but that's a much different thing from positive human interactions. Better is if we can give our time and our talents to others, and then perhaps they compliment us and we thank them. So here we see this close connection between gratitude and others, and the precious gift that's tucked in every gesture of gratitude is the small reminder that we need others. And this is why gratitude is closely tied to humility. Gratitude, it makes us small. It makes us needy in a good way, not a creepy way, in a healthy way. It keeps us grounded, close to the earth. The Latin word for earth, humus. My Latin isn't so great. Pronounce it how you will. Humus, humility. It keeps us grounded. So St. Francis de Sales, we have a quote here from him from The Devout Life, and he teaches, "A lively appreciation of the grace given to you should make you humble, for appreciation begets gratitude." This brings us to our next point, which is the connection between gratitude and relationship. When Francis de Sales says the grace that's given, the gifts that we receive, well, first, everything good comes from God. So first, that gratitude is to God, but we know many times God does his good work in our life through others. And again, here we see this close tied relationship. And why? Because God set it up that way. God is relationship. The Trinity is relationship. And we're made in his image and likeness. So we're made for relationship as well. That is how we're hooked up. That is how we sanctify ourselves, perfect ourselves, we harmonize our disordered interior and get things back the way they're supposed to be, it is through the relationships in our life. First and foremost, our relationship with God, then our relationship with our neighbor. The two great commandments: love God, love your neighbor as yourself. So again, we see gratitude is that, let's put it this way, the end of gratitude is to build relationship. That is the purpose of it. That is the function that gratitude serves in our life, to build our relationship with God and neighbor. So let's start with God, giving thanks to God for our relationship with God. We should be thanking God literally for everything. It's been said, what do you have that you have not received? Literally everything that we have comes from God. And I know there are plenty of things that we have in our life that we kind of wish we could give those back. Lord, can I do a return? Well, no, that's where we turn to Job. The Lord gives, the Lord takes. Blessed be the Lord in all things. And that's where faith certainly comes into play. But our gratitude, first, always oriented to God. And now this brings us to gratitude towards our neighbor. And certainly we're called to appreciate the people around us, to give thanks to our neighbor for all the ways that we're blessed by them, through God acting through them. Now, given that we're fallen human beings, given the state of creation, often we do things to one another that don't exactly instill the spirit of gratitude in us. Even in that, we still give thanks to God in all things. And I don't make light. There are truly horrific things that we do to one another. We still turn those over to God and we trust in them. But tied to that is actually how gratitude relates to forgiveness. And we'll touch on that in maybe some of the follow-up emails to this episode. But obviously a major point of our time here on earth is to recognize and appreciate how Christ works through the people around us. And this brings us to the idea of abstractions. Can we give thanks? Can we be grateful for an abstraction in our life? We have said Thanksgiving is always oriented towards building relationship. Can we be thankful for a nice snowfall in winter? Well, yes. That obviously brings us back to our first object of gratitude, which is God. We give thanks to the God who orders everything, orders the heavens, commands the winds to blow, and so on. We give thanks to God for that beautiful snowfall, for making creation the way that he did. Likewise, can we be thankful for our country? Can we be thankful for the government, the freedoms that we have? Sure, patriotism is a virtue, and really where that gratitude is being directed is both to God and for creating this country, and then for our neighbor, for the good citizens around us, and we try to repay that by being good citizens ourselves. But here an important dynamic of gratitude comes into play, that as human beings, as finite, limited human beings, it is very difficult to be grateful to a multitude. Yes, we can in the abstract, but it really plays itself out. We interiorize it, we experience it when the object of our gratitude are specific individuals. So we're thankful for our country, we're thankful for good citizens, absolutely. It's when we engage with them on an individual level that gratitude really comes to its perfection, that those relationships flourish. We simply can't distribute ourselves around thousands and millions, tens of millions of people. It gets too watered down. We're not able to do that. God can. He's infinite. He can have a deep relationship with everybody. Us, not so much. So we learn, we grow in relationship in those individual relationships in our life. And that brings us to our final point here of a simple prayer that I go back to again and again. You probably have something like this in your life as well. I imagine that you do. For what it's worth, here's a framework that I often use, and actually I call it a Thanksgiving prayer. I call it a Thanksgiving prayer just because I start out in Thanksgiving. But as you're going to see, it's an approach to prayer that's really focused on relationship. as it works like this, I'll call to mind someone in my life. It always be very specific. Yes, it can be general, it could be a group of people, but it's generally most powerful when it's a specific person. And we begin first just by giving thanks to God for that person in our life. Lord, thank you for whoever it might be. And then you want to go through and be very specific, thanking God for all the ways that God blesses the world, and you in particular, through that person, all of their different gifts. Especially the way that person is the face of Christ to people. Then moving on to praying for all good things for that person. You probably know maybe what some of their hopes, dreams, aspirations, desires, intentions, concerns are. Offering all those to God, praying for the Lord to fulfill all the deepest desires of the person's heart, praying for healing. We all have our wounded sides, and when we have a close friend, we have that privileged place where we can see in their life, boy, this is where they just have that blind spot. They keep, knocking their head against the wall. Lord, please just heal that, relieve them of that. And then most importantly, praying for that gift of faith, praying for the Lord to just pour out his grace on that person to draw them ever closer to him. What more can we hope for the people in our life? Then bringing our relationship with that person to the Lord. Lord, heal my relationship with this person, the wounds that I've inflicted. And we always do. We can't help it, as heaven knows. Speaking for myself, this is a part of the prayer I need to focus on the most. The things that I've done or haven't done that have inflicted a wound, Lord, heal that, take that away, replace that part of their heart and their soul with all good and beautiful and loving things. And then inviting the Lord into that relationship and perfecting it. And whoever it is, whether it's a friend, a spouse, a child, loved one, whatever that person is, whatever your role in their life, praying for God to perfect that relationship. I'm never going to be the perfect parent, the perfect husband, the perfect friend. So whatever role I'm given to play in this person's life and where I'm lacking, Lord, please complete that. Provide whatever they need that I'm not able to do. So there you are. Simple. I always have it in my mind as a Thanksgiving prayer for people, but it's much more than that, because as we see, Thanksgiving is really always about building relationship. With that, we wish you a very blessed Thanksgiving with the relationships with the people God has given you in your life, and I look forward to being with you again.